Y'all think this music fits me? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the blog. Wave meteorologist Brian Goode. I hope you guys are doing well. Thanks for being patient with us as our schedules are kind of wonky right now, that time of the year. So sometimes we're right at the time we want to be, and sometimes we're not here at the time that we hope to be there for y'all. But I assure you, if anything crazy was happening, you would certainly see us. All right. So that's a good thing. Yes, a change in music, Angela. I'm glad you know it. This is we'll call this a Ryan Hoke specialty that he picked out for me there. I think it fits me. No, maybe not. Okay. Here's the deal. We have a lot to cover as we head through the next few minutes. Even though it's a relatively quiet weather pattern, a lot of changes coming, and that is a good thing. I think every one of us is starving for some type of change, right, to take place. And the good news is we're finally going to get that coming our way. The bad news is something's got to give for us to go through that. And that will likely be in the form of a rainy day that will have to be sacrificed to the weather gods, if you will. And that looks like that is going to be, as Angela mentioned, I think it was Angela. Yep, it's going to be likely on Saturday. All right, Olivia, thank you for the burn ban update for Henry County. I appreciate that. Just we got word this morning that it's Shelby County and Owen County. And for those of you that are in our southern tier, Edmondson also added to the list of burn bans. The good news is I think we'll get enough rain out of this setup that we should be able to get out of that fairly quick, which is good. All right, we'll talk more about that coming up in just a second. So you guys ready? Here we go. Let's start with the most important thing, the countdown to fall. Seems painfully slow this year. As always the case when you get a heat wave and you look at this number just fall about one number each day, it's tough. But it's going to be here. And we will actually get to feel another benefit of some decent weather as we head into next week. So we don't have to really wait 24 days to get at least fall-ish type weather. But I look at this as not just getting fall weather. I look at this as when we get into fall weather and we lock in. We're done. We stay with that for the season. That's how I try to look at this dates. Sometimes it lines up, sometimes it doesn't. This year, I do think it will. In fact, we could have an early frost this year if this pattern keeps up the way it looks like it will. And I'll explain a little more when it comes, because the tropics is going to play a role in this and help driving the idea of a frost happening earlier. You may not think that way with the tropics being active, but that will likely lead to an early frost scenario. And I still think it's going to lead to an interesting December. December still stands out to me. I can't give too much away. I said I wouldn't because of the winter forecast. See, you guys started this, and this is what happens. I start talking too much. And I start getting into the winter forecast. I got to resist. But I start working on it soon. All right, look at the stretch of heat, guys. This is nothing record breaking right now that is happening, at least for the moment. But it always gets our attention, and it's fairly common to get a late season heat wave. We had one last year. We get a most years late season, but they're the most difficult to get through because of that idea I just showed you, where we're already in the mindset of, okay, September is about to arrive. Enough of this. Let's move on. At least most of us feel that way. Some of you don't, especially if you got a pool still that's open. You're like, no, we want more. I totally understand that. I don't have a pool. I have a pond, but I really don't want to swim with Gary and the koi. It's not very clean in there. All right. Anyway, the 90s today. If we hit 90, which we will in about, I would say 90 minutes from now, we should hit it. That will put us at number 45 for the number of 90-degree days. The record is 85. That, I guarantee you, will be safe. Thank goodness. Look how easy it is. Poor air quality. Still an issue. Air quality alert till midnight. I haven't heard yet if they're going to extend that till tomorrow. I may hear soon on that. We'll keep you updated. The Drought Outlook did update today. And there's been some modest changes, a little bit of an elevation in the bluegrass area, Kentucky in 71. Also to the west of us as you head toward Jasper, Indiana, back to Evansville. Not a shocker. I think everyone kind of expected something to change, right? But if this were earlier in the summer season, it would have been a much more dramatic map. The reason why it's not is that we're already in the dry season, entering it now. So that is also factored into these outlooks. So yes, we're in our second longest dry stretch of the year. Today will make number 13 if the rain certainly avoids the airport. But it's the dry season at the same time. So again, it's a lot worse and a lot harder too on farmers out there earlier in the year. This time of the year, it's harvest time, right? So we really don't have as much of a huge impact otherwise. But still, I think we're going to get enough rain to pull us out of this category in several areas when the next update comes out next Thursday. All right, today we already are off to some downpours beginning to pop. I mean, they're small. One lonely one near Bedford, Indiana, or northwest of Bedford, southwest of IU in Bloomington. That is going to be tracking basically due east. And there is a bit of a boundary here that I did notice that is showing up that may keep that going and sustained all the way through Jackson and Jennings. We'll see how that trend goes, but it's pretty likely it will hold on. But the other change we'll have is we're going to have a little bit more of a southern jog here to the moisture levels today across central Kentucky. Yesterday, the moisture line was roughly right there on 64, although there were a couple of downpours that did form in Bullitt County at the last minute yesterday. The boundary is a little more south today. So I do think those of you around Nelson County, Bullitt, Meade, Breckenridge may get one or two of these spotty downpours like the rest of us have seen in the past 24 hours. We may see some of those begin to pop. Otherwise, certainly your potential is higher across Indiana and up the 71 corridor. They will be isolated. We had isolated coverage yesterday, but boy, they had a kick to them, right? Caused damage. Just goes to show you, I'm sure a lot of folks that woke up in Clark County and in Jefferson County, Indiana, you didn't think you were going to get damage that afternoon, right? It wasn't really a widespread threat, but these isolated thunderstorms that have these microbursts of downdraft winds can be very potent, especially when you are in a heat wave. If you're excessively hot, you've really got to pay attention to that isolated factor, because these can form quickly, do the damage, and then they begin to weaken before the radar has a chance to even catch up and update the image. So they can happen fast. And I worry about these more than I do tornadoes, to be honest with you, because they catch so many people off guard. Tornado coverage, you guys usually know when we have a tornado type of day, right? I mean, we have alert days that are in place. It gets a lot more attention, and therefore awareness is high. But isolated downdrafts or isolated microburst scenarios, you're kind of going on with your business. It's a hot day. You're not really thinking that could happen in about an hour. So that's the reason why we always want to exercise caution in these heat waves. And you get these isolated thunderstorms. I don't know if there's going to be one that gets to that level today. There may not be. There are a few parameters today that are a little off compared to yesterday that will likely tame things down just a smidge, but still, it's a heat wave and excessive heat. So I'm not letting my guard down, and you shouldn't either. If you hear some thunder, especially, get inside and keep us updated if you end up experiencing some gusty winds in your area. On the plus side, I hope you get some beneficial rain out of it. That's the one thing about this. The atmosphere, it's dry, and it may not seem that way when you get heavy rain. And in some cases, Boone County and DeCampbell County yesterday around Cincinnati, 4.5 inches of rain fell in a very short amount of time. More than 2 inches fell yesterday into Clark, into Jefferson counties in Indiana. So the atmosphere is dry, but it's dry in certain levels, not in all levels. And there are some cases where you could still get very heavy rain, even though it may not seem that way with the humidity being very, very high. So just, again, I don't want to beat this too much. I just want you guys to be aware that chance is still there today. And really tomorrow afternoon will be similar, except tomorrow afternoon, as you're about to see, it's not going to be restricted to interstates. It'll be anywhere that could form tomorrow. All right, so here's the game plan. We've got several features on the map. We've got a front that is across the Great Lakes into the Mid-Atlantic. We have a very strong high pressure that is located near us. It's right over Tennessee. And we have a strong cold front, at least strong for now, back into the plains. High pressure has clockwise circulation, so everything's going around it in a clockwise flow. It picks up the moisture here into Arkansas, and then it throws it right back in to the Ohio River Valley. As long as that H, the high pressure, is into at least southern Kentucky. That's the reason why it's only 64 and north that gets the thunderstorm chance. But the high is moving as our weather patterns are always kind of shifting around, right? So this high is going to be sliding to the south and east over the next 24 hours. Therefore, we don't have that protection anymore. And therefore, we're all going to be in that chance to get an isolated downpour tomorrow. And as it continues to move away, and then the front to our west then moves in, that's when the rain chance will skyrocket as we head into your Saturday. All right, so here is the outlook today on severe risk. It is a little ripple to the east where that front dips back down the mid-Atlantic. Minor stuff there. Otherwise, it's the Midwest once again along that front. We are not outlooked anywhere here, but as I've tried to stress, it doesn't matter. You could still get an isolated gusty thunderstorm that can form even if they are not drawn an outlook for us today. Tomorrow, the outlook follows the front, but notice there's a tilt. The front's a little more, let me back it up. The front's a little more of an angle, almost north-south, if you will, into the Twin Cities. Tomorrow, it's slanted, and then as we get into Saturday, it continues that slant over. When you tilt the front like that, you lose a lot of its kick to it, and you reduce the severe potential quite a bit, which is a good thing. But when you have a tilting front, the only thing you got to watch out for is actually two things. One, timing. Timing rarely is accurate on the modeling with that, so we may still be shifting times around on this rain chance on Saturday. And I'm talking to really those of you near the parkways because it may linger into Sunday. It may still hover in southern Kentucky. And the second thing is you end up with a training effect. The storms, instead of going a little more south to north, they go a little more west-east, and therefore you can get repeated rounds and you can get some heavy rainfall. So we'll have to monitor those two factors, but nothing crazy coming our way out of this setup. There's no alert day for it. But I do think it's just going to be certainly a big change what we've had as of late. And I think if you don't have anything planned, and I'm talking about if you're not going to the game or you're not going to World Fest, then you've got a great excuse to have a nap day coming up tomorrow. That's what I'm looking forward to. Okay, here's Futurecast for this afternoon. Now, it's going to struggle on these downpours that pop. We got that one now in Lawrence County, but I still think the majority of whatever begins to pop is going to be roughly about 2 or 3 o'clock. Little blips will start to form. Maybe around 4 o'clock we'll see how they develop and pop on the radar. You can see it's got one there into Jackson County at 7:30 p.m. Well, I don't know if that's going to be fully accurate or not. This is just one model's idea, but you get the point, as they'll be blotchy as they form. We'll go still with the idea we're going to get to the record level of 99 for a high. As always the case with Louisville, especially with Ollie International, all it takes is a batch of clouds, especially cumulus clouds or even a stratus cloud that parks over the airport at 3 in the afternoon, and that's it. You're not going to get to that record level. It'll shave off a couple degrees right there. That is still possible. So we'll go with 99, but don't be surprised if we fall short of that in some areas because of either clouds or a downpour that pops at the max heating of the day. For those of you keeping tabs on records, that probably matters to you more than the rest of us, but just kind of a FYI on that. Anything that forms this afternoon, though, is going to be highly heat-based. So it'll fall apart tonight, patchy areas of fog. Tomorrow, rinse and repeat. Another hot day. A few thunderstorms will begin to fire. As I mentioned, the high is more east, so we do not have that protection for all counties tomorrow. So anywhere, thunderstorms can begin to pop, and you see that scattered nature. And the other change to this, because now we've got this strong flow coming in from the Gulf heading straight in our area, and we've got a front moving in, lifting the air up. The downpours that form tomorrow afternoon, instead of fading out like they have been the past couple of days, they will keep going. And we may end up with a stormy period at times overnight Friday night. Placement is going to be a challenge on this, but I do think there will be some pockets of heavier rain during the nighttime hours. We'll watch this for the area high school football games. Hopefully nothing lingers in that time period at the 7 to 9 o'clock window, but it is possible, so just pay extra attention to the trends on that. Otherwise, obviously the main show is Saturday. I think everyone's aware that that's when the front we move it in, but because of that tilted nature, timing is going to vary where you're at. You can see that slides in here as we hit into late Friday night. Some showers and storms linger around. We get into Saturday. Showers, storms, blossoming. This is now kickoff at 12 noon on Saturday. If you're going to the Cards home opener in Louisville, we will have at least a scattering of showers and storms. It still looks like the greatest coverage is going to be roughly second, third quarter to the end of the game. And some of this is going to be locally heavy. I'm hoping the majority of this will wait until we get past the game, or if it's going to hit, we don't have lightning, and it's just blobs of heavy rain. And that's annoying, but at least it's not a huge safety issue when it comes to being at the game. If you get lightning, then that's going to be a game changer, right? So take the ponchos, get ready for some heavy rain and pockets, and let's hope we don't have a lot of lightning with this. Still be careful traveling. Hydroplaning levels go up in a dry scenario when heavy rain moves into a dry stretch. Your oils have built up on the roadway, and you get a lot of runoff because the ground is like concrete right now. So the water has nowhere to go. It can't really soak very well, especially if it's raining too hard. So therefore, it just runs off. It goes off to the sides of the gutters, on the sides of the interstate. So this is mainly a city thing that you run into hydroplaning because of the way the sewer system, the drainage system is set up in an urban area. It just flows out on the interstate. So please be careful traveling. Hydroplaning issues, again, will be higher than normal in this setup for tomorrow afternoon. Once this front settles south, the rain chance should be able to get dropped for Indiana as we head into late Saturday night into Sunday. For Kentucky, we may have to keep it going into Sunday. Louisville, I think we can clear the way it's looking now for Sunday. But if you get around the parkways and south, we may have to keep on with that rain chance on Sunday. There is a two-part ordeal to this, though. There's a second front that will move in, but that'll be Sunday night into Monday. Right now, that is it dives in. That's the one that's really going to allow us to reset and get back to cooler weather. I don't see much more than just a band of clouds when it drops in. We'll watch that because sometimes these fronts can scoop up some moisture and you can get a little band of showers that can form Sunday night. That's possible, but I think overall it's just going to be a band of clouds. And obviously the cooler weather, which is perfect as it lines up with Labor Day. I like that. After that, we get into one little, it's a headache. It really is. It's a little ripple, if you will, that it flows right into the southeast corner of the country and kind of drifts through the Tennessee Valley about Tuesday, Wednesday, and parts of Thursday. This feature has been here for over a week for this time period. And the models just don't know what to do with it because it tries to throw in clouds back into Kentucky and Indiana and even some showers for the middle of the week. And that will make a difference because it really will shave off several degrees in our temperature forecast to where some of you would barely be in the 70s because of the rain-cooled air. Versus if you end up dry, you easily get back into the lower 80s, no problem. So there's a lot of challenges with this little ripple here. It doesn't look like much on the modeling, and that's not surprising. I don't think it's going to be anything heavy at all. I just think it will matter on a sunny day versus a little more of an overcast setup and some patchy drizzle or light rain. So just be aware that this part of the forecast for next week is still being worked with, and it may continue to evolve as we get closer. Otherwise, it'll be the next weekend. That's when our next front will begin to drop down. This is another strong front that'll be dropping in from Canada. And as it drops, whoa, wait a minute. Do you all see what I see? Does anyone see it? I know you're going to say snow. No, it's not that. You got to look real carefully at the very top part of your screen. See that blue line that is up there behind the banner? That is the rain snow line. For the first time this year, it is showing up into southern Canada. Winter's coming. Winter's coming. It's a good sign there. But it also tells me that this pattern, which has been repeating itself for several days and several weeks, is going to allow for that repeating idea to get colder shots of air to come into play. And that's why I think an earlier than normal frost certainly can be in the cards. As long as this pattern holds, that will be the case. So I mentioned earlier about the tropics. Why would that be a factor? Well, when you get these troughs that dive in from Canada and you get, will likely still be several more tropical storms, even hurricanes are going to be forming. They will likely turn once they get to Florida. That's good and bad for Florida. But when these are powerhouses, all right? These are just the most intense machines and engines we've got on the planet. And weather is a typhoon, a cyclone, hurricane, same thing, different names, different oceans. But when they get into the mix, they really cause a dramatic yin-yang effect. So you end up pumping in a lot of heat and moisture in the southeast corner of the country. But boy, you got to have opposite reaction to that. Something's got to balance it. That's what Earth is always trying to do. Earth always wants to be balanced. And because we spin and we're tilted and revolving around the sun, it can't be ever balanced. And that's why we have weather. Weather is basically the Earth's way of trying to figure out how to get everything just absolutely perfect, but it can't. It tries. But the point of all that, not to get into a big science lesson, is that because we have such a strong influence of these heat engines in the southeast corner, something has to balance that. So that usually tends to be a colder shot of air that'll move in on the northwest side of it. And that's why, again, I think if the hurricane season ramps back up again, which it should, that would then allow for a very interesting fall for us. I'm still holding out the idea that there's ever going to be a perfect scenario again of a tropical system and a cold front. Yeah, no, it won't happen here. But maybe in the Northeast, they could get early season snow. That would be exciting. Speaking of the tropics, though, it is worth mentioning there is a wave that is developing. You can see there's another one even behind that off the coast of Africa. So things, again, are ramping up. This one's been upgraded to 40% development now. We'll go ahead into the same area, the Antilles, and eventually back into Puerto Rico, which feels like this has been the same track over and over. The next name on the list, by the way, will be Francine. We'll keep you updated. All right, we get into the 10-day and get some of your questions as you take a gander at the heat today and tomorrow. And as I've tried to allude to, there will be at least a chance for maybe a record tomorrow too, depending on how the clouds and downpours kind of play out. Then there's your rain chance, and then you see the reset and the clouds for the middle of next week as we try to figure out what that wrinkle is going to do. And then right now, we'll go mainly dry toward the weekend, and we'll keep an eye on that front that tries to dive down. All right, what questions? Uh-oh, snow lines on there, Adam. Get ready. Wayne, did I see you in here? I thought I saw your comment. Oh, there you are, Wayne. Yep, you know the changes I'm looking for. Yeah, Wayne is you're probably our number one. Actually, it's between you and Jeremy are probably our two bigger bots fans for bringing on the snow. If you guys have never heard of bots before. So if you're a bots fan, type 1. If you're not, don't type anything. Don't type anything. Okay. Any questions I can get to that I haven't covered yet? I think everyone's okay. What'd you say, Joel? On the plus side, this is the one that the water in the pool and the lakes was to be warmer a bit longer. You're exactly right. That will allow for those that have pools, you're going to love the next few days there. And again, we're going to have the weekend. We're going to have Labor Day. It's going to be really, really nice. Plan your boating, your cookouts. It's rare that we actually get the holiday. Usually we always have to say, well, you better plan for the Saturday before the holiday because the holiday is probably going to be a mess. We usually say that, don't we? But in this case, it actually will be the day before that, the days before that on Saturday that it will be nastier, but the holiday I think looks good. Looks good. Would you say, Danielle, 1-800-BOTS? Oh, one bots. I said 1-800-BOTS. Sorry about that. I'm dyslexic and I have ADD. I have a lot of problems. Okay. You guys are awesome. Appreciate your patience. Keep us updated on the setup with any gusty thunderstorms this afternoon. And obviously, we'll monitor the trends as we head into Saturday with that rain chance. All right, you all take care. I'll quit rambling. I'll see you guys coming up on midday at 11 o'clock. Take care.